Speaking of Dylan Raiola, he was everywhere this weekend. So not only did he get a workout with Jeff Christensen, the renowned quarterback instructor, who was in Lincoln for the Remington Award ceremony, as well as Will Howard, who was in town this weekend. Dylan Raiola was there at the dinner as well at the Rimington Trophy Ceremony. Then he was at Arrowhead Stadium, as we showed earlier. But for a young freshman in college, Stipple, Raiola's everywhere. Like, how many freshmen do you know this young that are in the Chiefs locker room at the Remington dinner, working out with Jeff Christensen in Lincoln? I mean, it's
most of them can't afford to do it.
I know, it's just remarkable,
right? He can afford it. Yeah, it is, and it's great. It's great for him. I mean, those are incredible experiences that the Chiefs welcome him into that setting. I think the most important part of his weekend was working with Jeff Christensen. I mean, Dylan is trying to get better, and Christensen's the guy to do it.
All right, I'm going to do my best version of you. Tell our listeners who Jeff Christensen is.
Well, yeah, we shouldn't. I mean, I'll tell you why I do that, because nobody knows. I mean, they don't. We shouldn't act like Jeff Christensen is a household name, because he's not. I had to look him up. By the way, there's Dylan. Jeff Christensen is a quarterback's. We'll call him a guru. He's worked with over 4,000 quarterbacks since his time in the NFL, which ended in 1990.
And he was Dave Remington's quarterback?
Well, he was his roommate. Yeah, with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jeff played with 8 teams. He made it in the NFL for like an 8-year period. But now, yeah, he coaches. His star pupils, Mahomes. But he coached up Will Howard, and Will Howard had a great. I worked with Will Howard 40 plus times in a year span. Howard had a great year at Ohio State, obviously led him to the national title. He's worked with Dylan for 4 years. He believes they had their 100th workout on Saturday.
All down in Texas is my guess, or does he come to them?
He was here. He was here on Saturday. He has camps in Illinois and Arizona, and I think in the Dallas area. I don't know exactly where Dylan goes with him all the time. Dayton Raiola also works with him. You'd be interested in Christensen. If you think I'm gruff, he takes it to another level. So we had a good conversation. He said, I'm not going, like at one point he said, look, I'm not going up there to socialize. We got work to do. I don't socialize with these guys. He goes, I have 4 friends, and I'm trying to get rid of 2 of them. That's what he said.
Were you like, what do you mean? Interesting.
Oh, he's a dude. He doesn't mess around. It's a good guy. It's a good there. God, look at that. There's Christensen right there. He's a good. And look, he works with Mahomes.
With Kelsey.
Yeah. Kelsey. He's worked with Mahomes since 2017.
Mahomes is only 29 years old. That freaks me out.
Yeah, he's on track to be the GOAT. I just like saying that. But anyway, yeah, Dylan is leading quite a nice life. It's a pretty good deal for Dylan. But there's got to be hard work involved, and he got some receivers, and they went to work on Saturday before the banquet.
Well, then there's the other trainer, Bobby, down in Kansas City. I'm blanking on his last name, but he works out with him too. And that's also Mahomes' like regular kind of physical personal trainer. Mm-hmm. And this is the quarterback trainer.
Yeah. And these are not light workouts. I mean, it's what Christensen says is a lot of guys tell him, when I get to the game, it's way easier than what you're asking us to do. So
Bobby Strope is his name. And
yeah,
he's down in Overland Park.
So yeah, Dylan, you always wonder a little bit about how Nebraska's coaching staff feels about their quarterbacks working with outside guys. Mario Verduzco didn't like that when he was here. Not all quarterbacks coaches feel the same.
But the coaches can't work with them in the offseason.
Right.
There's
Some
rules.
are just
There's
fine.
rules.
Yeah. I think if I were a quarterbacks coach, I'd be fully supportive of it because you're just working on your craft. You're trying to get better. The kid's trying to get better and better and better and better. So just have him do it and feel comfortable with what you're doing when you have him.
Yeah, and I would imagine the guys that don't like it are almost threatened.
Maybe.
Because if the success comes,
it may be a little bit more than that. There might be a little more substance to it than that. if they're teaching competing techniques, for instance, that could confuse a kid probably, but I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that. It didn't sound like that was an issue. I don't want to make it an issue when it's
wasn't not. Harburg at one point, I believe, going down.
Don't know.
I thought last year he did some workouts with Christensen.
I don't know that.
A few.
Yeah.
But I would imagine he gets a lot of inquiries. I can only imagine if you're him, how many people you turn away.
Yeah. I never thought of that, but you're probably right.
Like, I mean,
you only have, there's so much time in a day. You know?
And when you're an elite trainer like that, you only want to work with elite.
There's that, but there's also the element where they do have camps where hundreds of people can come. So they do those. And I know they have them in Arizona and Illinois. So that they can teach in mass. It's not all one-on-one instruction. I don't know how much Dylan does that. I don't know if he goes to those multi-quarterback camps or not. But anyway, so yeah.
I would imagine most of Dylan's are private individual.
I mean, think so.
He did go to the Elite 11 in high school. That was like, and he went and did the workout and did the camp, but didn't do, he wasn't a big camp guy. Didn't need to.
Yeah. So Christensen was coming up, as you mentioned, the Rimington Trophy banquet was Saturday night. He was coming up here for that, and he just thought, as long as we're here, I'm going to work with Dylan.
And all your ticket guys, I saw Aaron Davis and Nick Sainert and Jay and all. I mean, a lot of your guys from the ticket.
A lot of the guys from the ticket went. Will Howard was there.
It's a nice event they do. Dave Remington and Tony Felici helps run that, former Husker player. Kelly Feynman's involved, John Feynman's son.